The slap landed before she even knew who he was. 1 second, Yuna was crowd surfing at her own concert, riding the wave of 500 screaming fans like she was born to do exactly this. The next second someone shoved her hard, deliberate, the kind of shove that had nothing to do with the mosh pit and everything to do with disrespect. Her body moved before her mind could catch up. She spun. Her palm connected with the jaw. Sharp. Clean. The sound cut through the music like a blade. And then nothing. Not silence exactly, but the kind of collective inhale that happens when an entire room realizes something irreversible just occurred. Yuna blinked. The man standing in front of her was tall, sharp-jawed, dressed in all black that probably cost more than her studio equipment. He wasn't stumbling. He wasn't grabbing her. He was just still. Completely terrifyingly still. Around him, 3 men in identical dark suits had frozen mid-step, hands reaching toward their jackets, eyes locked on her like they were waiting for a signal. The music cut. Every light in Club Onyx seemed to dim by half a degree. Yuna looked at the man. Looked at the suits. Looked at the crowd of 500 people who had all stopped moving at the exact same moment like someone hit pause on the entire universe. She bent down. Picked up the microphone she had dropped during the fall. Stood back up straight. Looked the man dead in the eye. He had it coming, she said into the mic. Now where were we? The crowd detonated. Laughter, screaming, the bass dropping back in as the DJ, bless him, read the room and brought the beat back harder than before. Yuna turned away from the man in black and walked back toward the stage like she hadn't just slapped the most dangerous person in Busan. Like she hadn't just done the one thing nobody in this city did, and lived to perform the encore. Behind her, the man raised one finger. His men stood down. Kang Jisoo touched his jaw once. Not in pain, just in quiet acknowledgement, and walked back to the VIP section. He sat. He poured himself a drink. And he watched Yuna finish the show with the kind of focus he usually reserved for business deals worth billions. His Lieutenant Park leaned close. Should I? No. Boss, she jest. I said no. Jisoo lifted his glass. Let her finish. Park straightened. Said nothing. Because in 12 years of working for Kang Jisoo, he had learned that the most dangerous version of his boss was never the one who was angry. It was the one who went quiet. Jisoo was very, very quiet. Before we go any further, if you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications because stories like this one are exactly why this channel exists. And if you have already been here, you know what to do. Like this video. Drop a comment. Tell me, would you have apologized? Let's get into it. Yuna didn't sleep that night. Not because she was scared. Dammy, her manager, was scared enough for both of them. He had been pacing the backstage corridor for 20 minutes before the show even ended, and by the time Yuna came off stage, drenched in sweat, high on adrenaline, still buzzing from the crowd, he looked like a man who had aged 5 years in 2 hours. Do you know who that was? He said, grabbing her arm. Yuna pulled her arm back gently. A man who was standing where he shouldn't have been. Yuna. Dammy's voice dropped to a whisper. That was Kang Jisoo. She stopped toweling her face. The Kang Jisoo? Is there another one? She was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she went back to toweling her face. He was in my mosh pit, she said. What was I supposed to do? Move. Dammy's voice cracked. You were supposed to move, Yuna. Step aside. Fall. Anything other than. He made a slapping gesture with his hand and looked like he wanted to pass out. Yuna sat down on the backstage couch, pulled off her stage boots, and looked at her manager with the calm expression she had inherited from her mother, a Nigerian woman who once argued with a Lagos traffic officer for 45 minutes and won. He didn't announce himself, she said. If he wanted special treatment, he should have stayed in VIP where he belonged. Dammy stared at her. She's going to get us both killed, he said to no one in particular. This woman is going to get us both killed, and I accepted the job anyway. The video was online before they even left the building. Some fan in the crowd had caught everything: the shove, the spin, the slap, the silence, the mic pickup, the line. It was 47 seconds long, and by the time Yuna got home and showered and sat on her kitchen floor eating leftover jollof rice at 2 a.m., it had 200,000 views. By sunrise it had 2 million. Her phone did not stop. Labels that had rejected her 3 times were calling. Journalists wanted interviews. A podcast with 8 million subscribers sent a booking request. Someone started a hashtag. Someone else started a counter hashtag defending Jisoo. Both were trending simultaneously. Dami sent her 17 voice notes in a row, each one more distressed than the last. She listened to the first 3 and then put her phone face down and finished her rice. She was not thinking about the views. She was not thinking about the labels or the interviews or the hashtags. She was thinking about the way Kang Jisoo had looked at her. Not with anger. Not even with shock. He had looked at her the way someone looks at a painting they don't understand but can't stop staring at. Like she was a problem he hadn't been given the right equation for yet. Like he was already trying to solve her. She didn't know if that was better or worse than anger. She fell asleep on her kitchen floor with her phone still face down and the rice half finished, and she dreamed about nothing at all. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. No black cars outside her studio. No mysterious phone calls. No one showed up at her door. Dami slowly unclenched. By day 2 he was only sending 5 panicked voice notes instead of 17. And by day 3 he had downgraded from full panic to what he called cautious terror, which for Dami was practically vacation mode. Yuna worked. She was always working. That was the thing about her that most people misunderstood. They saw the stage confidence, the sharp mouth, the way she never flinched, and they assumed she was reckless. She wasn't. Every word she had ever rapped was written at 3 in the morning in a shipping container studio on the east side of Busan's Old Port District. Every beat she performed over had been selected from hundreds of options. Every show she headlined had been hustled for, negotiated for, sometimes begged for. There was nothing careless about Yuna. She just refused to perform fear for other people's comfort. On the 4th day, she was in the studio working on a bridge for a track she'd been trying to finish for 6 weeks when the door opened. She did not hear cars. She did not hear footsteps. One moment the door was closed. The next it was open and Kang Jisoo was standing in the frame of it, alone, wearing a charcoal coat over a black shirt, looking at her like he had all the time in the world and had decided to spend some of it here. Yuna pulled one earbud out. Just one. "You're in my studio," she said. "You're on my property." His voice was low, unhurried. "This whole port. Mine." She looked at him for a long moment. "Then charge me rent or leave." Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but the place where a smile might eventually live if it ever decided to move in. He stepped inside without being invited. His eyes moved around the space the way hands move over something new, slowly taking inventory. The handwritten lyrics covering the walls in black marker. The photo of her mother pinned above the soundboard. A Nigerian woman with big earrings and a bigger smile. The Kent fabric draped over her chair. The empty ramen cups stacked neatly in the corner, because Yuna believed in a clean studio but didn't always have time to take out the trash. "You're not scared of me," he said. "Should I be? Everyone is." Yuna leaned back in her chair and looked at him the way she looked at contracts, carefully, searching for the part where she was supposed to sign away something important. "Then everyone else can be scared," she said. "I'm working." He reached into his coat and placed a black card on her mixing board. Matte finish. No logo. Just an address and a time written in silver ink. "Club Onyx," he said. "Friday. Headline slot. Full production. Paid." Yuna looked at the card. Did not touch it. "Why?" "Because you earned it." "I earned it by slapping you?" "You earned it," he said, "by not apologizing." The room was very quiet. Just the low hum of the equipment and the distant sound of the port outside. Water, machinery. The groan of cargo ships arriving and leaving. Yuna picked up the card. Turned it over. Put it back down. "Is this a peace offering or a trap? Does it matter?" "It matters to me." He held her gaze for long enough that it stopped being a stare and became something else, the kind of sustained attention that people usually pay for. "Peace offering," he said finally. He walked out. No goodbye. The door closed quietly behind him. Yuna sat with the card for a long time. Then she picked up her phone and called Dami. He answered on the first ring. "Is everything okay? Are you safe? Should I call someone?" "Kang Jisoo just offered me a headline slot at Club Onyx." Silence. "Dami. I'm here," he said faintly. "I'm just having a small crisis. Give me a moment." Friday night. Full production. Yuna. His voice was strained to the point of breaking. This is how it starts. He's not offering you a show, he's offering you a leash. You perform for him, you owe him, and then suddenly your schedule is his schedule and your music is his music and... Or, Yuna said. It's the biggest stage I've ever stood on. He collects people, Yuna. That's what he does. He finds talented, brilliant, too proud people and he collects them. She looked at the black card on the mixing board. At her mother's photo above it. At the lyrics covering the walls, every line of which she had written alone, at her own pace on her own terms. Then I'll be the one he can't collect, she said. She picked up the card. She spent Thursday writing. Not preparing for the show. The show was handled, the set list already existed, the production team confirmed. She spent Thursday writing a song. Came out in 4 hours, which almost never happened. Usually a song took her weeks of circling before it gave itself up willingly. This one arrived like it had been waiting. She called it Wrong Man. The first verse was about a man who confused proximity for power. The chorus was about a woman who confused nothing for anything and never had. The bridge, the one she'd been stuck on for 6 weeks on a completely different track, came to her in the middle of writing this one, and she laughed out loud alone in her studio at midnight because that was how songwriting works sometimes. You chase one thing and find another. She released it quietly. No announcement. Just uploaded it at midnight and went to sleep. By Friday morning it had 500,000 streams. By Friday afternoon, someone had figured out it was about Kang Jisoo. By Friday evening when Yuna arrived at Club Onyx for soundcheck, it had passed 1 million and the comment section was doing what comment sections do. Half the people calling her fearless, half calling her reckless, and a small but vocal group insisting she had a death wish. She did not have a death wish. She had a set list and a sound engineer named Tae who she trusted completely, and she had the black card in the back pocket of her jeans, and she had the particular calm of someone who has decided that whatever happens next, they are going to be fully present for it. The soundcheck went perfectly. She did not see Jisoo before the show. She did not look for him. The show was different from the concert earlier that week in the way a controlled fire is different from a wildfire. Club Onyx had ceilings. It had acoustics designed to make sound behave. It had lighting rigs that responded to the music in real time and a crowd of 300 people who had paid serious money to be there. Not students and underground fans in sneakers but Busan's night world in sharp clothes and sharper expressions, people who were used to being entertained and showed it by how little they showed. Yuna walked out and rearranged their faces within 30 seconds. She opened with Wrong Man. The crowd recognized it instantly. Someone had clearly been streaming it in the car on the way here. And the energy that moved through the room was something Yuna had learned to read over years of performing. It was the energy of people realizing the show was going to be better than they expected. Better than they'd paid for. The kind of energy that makes people lean forward instead of back. She performed like she always performed, like there was no ceiling, like the space around her was infinite, like every person in that room was the only person in that room. Her voice moved between Korean and Yoruba the way her life always had. Fluidly, without apology, one language picking up exactly where the other left off. Up in VIP, Kang Jisoo sat with his hands loose around a glass of water. Not alcohol, never alcohol when he was working, and he was always working, and he listened. He had heard the track that morning. He had listened to it 4 times in his car with the volume higher than he usually kept it, and he had sat with the complicated feeling it produced in him the way he usually sat with complicated things, quietly until they revealed their shape. The bridge he had decided needed work. Not because it was bad. Because it was almost perfect, and almost perfect was more frustrating than bad. He watched her perform it now and revised his opinion. Live the bridge worked. Live, with her voice doing the thing it did in the upper register, the unfinished quality of it became intentional, became the point. He filed that away. After the show, his security led her backstage to where he was waiting. She came in still warm from the stage, pulling her braids back, and she looked at him the same way she had looked at him in the studio, like she was determining whether he was worth the conversation. He spoke first. "Wrong man," he said. "Was that about me? It was about every man who assumed my world should orbit his. And does it? Orbit. Not once." He studied her. This close, in the lower light of the backstage corridor, he could see things the distance of the VIP section had hidden. The small scar along her left collarbone. The way she stood with her weight slightly forward. Like she was always ready to move. The fact that she was watching his hands, not his face, an instinct he recognized that came from learning early that hands were what you needed to watch. Who taught you that? He asked. Taught me what? To watch hands. Something moved through her expression, quick, almost invisible. My mother, she said. She grew up somewhere that made it necessary. He nodded, said nothing, because he understood without needing details what kind of somewhere that was. You're different, he said. You've said that before. It bears repeating. She tilted her head. Why are you being this way with me? What way? Careful, she said. You're being careful. Like I might break. I don't think you'd break, he said. I think you'd find a way to make the breaking someone else's problem. She laughed. Not politely, actually laughed surprised out of it, and the sound changed the architecture of the hallway in a way that Jisoo found deeply inconvenient. I could help your career, he said. Genuinely. One call and every door in this industry opens. I could open my own doors, she said. I've been doing it. With a shipping container and ramen cups. With my own hands and my own name. Her voice didn't sharpen. If anything, it softened the way very certain things go soft when they've been certain long enough. There's a difference. I know there is. She looked at him. Then why offer? He was quiet for a moment. Honest in the way he rarely allowed himself to be. Because I wanted to see what you'd say. And you said exactly what I thought you'd say. She studied him the way she'd been studying him all night, with the focused, patient attention of someone who was trying to understand something that didn't come with instructions. You're not what I expected, she said finally. What did you expect? Someone who needed the room to be afraid of him. And you don't need it, she said. You just expect it. That's different. He said nothing. Because she was right and he was not used to people being right about him out loud to his face without flinching. The door at the end of the corridor burst open. Park came through it at a pace that meant only one thing. He crossed to Jisoo's side and leaned in close, 3 words low and tight. Jisoo straightened. The version of him that had been standing in this hallway having this conversation folded away, and the version of him that ran things stepped forward in its place. The transition was seamless and absolute the way a light switch works. He turned back to Yuna. I have to go. I know. Same time next Friday? She raised an eyebrow. Let him wait exactly long enough to know she was deciding, not just agreeing. Only if you stay out of my mosh pit. The corner of his mouth moved. The closest thing to a real smile she had seen from him. Not performed, not strategic, just a reflex that escaped before he could contain it. He walked away. Yuna watched him go. Arms crossed. Expression unreadable. Dammy materialized from somewhere near the catering table. He had been eating stress shrimp for the past 40 minutes and he still looked pale. You were back there for a long time, he said carefully. We talked. About what? Music. Mostly. Dammy looked at her the way he always looked at her when he knew she was telling the truth but not all of it. Yuna. Dammy. You like him. I find him interesting. That's the same thing. It really genuinely isn't. She walked past him toward the exit, pulling her jacket on. And if she was smiling slightly once her back was to him, he didn't see it. Or at least he had the good sense to pretend he didn't. If you're still watching, and I know you are, drop a comment right now. Would you take the show? Would you trust him? Tell me below and don't forget to like this video. We are almost at the end and it is only going to get more intense from here. A week passed. Yuna worked. Slept badly. Worked more. Wrong Man crossed 5 million streams and a major soul label made an offer that was genuinely the largest number anyone had ever attached to her name in a professional context. She read the contract 3 times, found 2 clauses she didn't like, sent it back with revisions and went back to the studio. She did not think about Kang Jisoo. She thought about Kang Jisoo constantly. Not in the way Dammy feared. Not in the way of someone falling, losing ground, going soft. She thought about him the way she thought about a song that wouldn't fully arrive. Something was there. Something real and complete existed somewhere just beyond the place she could reach. And it bothered her the way incompleteness always bothered her, which was deeply and persistently. She was working on a new track at 11 on a Wednesday night when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. She answered. I heard the new track, said the voice on the other end. Low, unhurried, like someone who had never once in their life felt the need to rush. Yuna's hand tightened slightly on the phone. She kept her voice even. You have my number now. I have everything. Of course you do. A pause. Not awkward. Jisoo didn't do awkward. Considered. The bridge needs work. Yuna pulled the phone away from her ear and stared at it. Slowly brought it back. I'm sorry. The bridge. You're resolving it too early. The tension needs 3 more bars before it earns the release. She was quiet for a long moment. Not because she was offended. Because he was right and it was profoundly annoying. You produce, she said. I invest. In music. In things worth protecting. The words landed differently than she expected. Not like a line, like a fact. Like something he had considered before saying and meant precisely. She felt something shift in the studio the way air shifts before weather changes. What made you listen to it? She asked. I've been listening since the concert. Another pause. Since before the concert, honestly. I'd heard of you. And I came to the show to see if the reality matched the reputation. Did it? It exceeded it, he said. Simply. Like stating a measurement. Yuna leaned back in her chair and looked at the ceiling. At the water stain shaped vaguely like a running dog that she had named Biscuit 2 years ago when she first rented this space. She thought about what to say. She thought about what not to say. She thought about the bridge of the track and the 3 extra bars she hadn't written yet, and how much she hated that he was right. Who are you? She said. When nobody's watching? The question surprised him. She could tell by the quality of the silence that followed. Kang Jisoo was not a man who was often surprised. Quieter, he said finally. Then what? Then everything I'm required to be. She sat with that. That sounds lonely. It is. No hesitation. No performance of unbotheredness. Just the word clean and undefended, and she understood in that moment that he had not said that to anyone in a very long time, possibly ever, and that something about her, the slap, the mic, the staying, the not apologizing, had knocked something loose in him that he was only now noticing was loose. Jisoo, she said. Yes. I'm not going to be something you collect. I know. I mean it. Whatever this is, whatever it's becoming. I need you to understand that I don't rearrange myself for anyone. Not labels. Not industry. Not you. I don't want you rearranged, he said. Rearranged, you'd be ordinary. Ordinary I already have. She laughed again, that same surprised, unguarded laugh from the backstage corridor. It did the same thing to the room. She suspected it would always do that. And she wasn't sure how she felt about something she couldn't control. The bridge, she said. 3 more bars. I heard you the first time. Are you going to fix it? I was going to fix it anyway. Of course you were. There was warmth in his voice now, real warmth, not performed, the kind that comes from the part of a person that exists before the version they show the world. She recognized it because it matched something in her own voice that only came out at 2 in the morning in an empty studio when she was too tired to maintain the performance of self-sufficiency. Good night, Jisoo, she said. Good night, Yuna. She hung up, set the phone down, sat very still. Then she picked up her pen, pressed record, and wrote the 3 bars. They were the best 3 bars she had ever written. She knew it immediately, the way you know certain things, not with evidence but with the particular clarity that only arrives when something is exactly right. She played them back and they made the bridge not just work but ache, which was what a bridge was supposed to do. Make the listener feel the distance between where they were and where the song was taking them. She saved the file at 12:47 a.m. and sat in the quiet. Her phone buzzed again. A text this time. Same unknown number. The port. Tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. Come alone. I want to show you something. She stared at the message for a long time. Dammy's voice played in her head. He collects people, Yuna. And underneath it her mother's voice, lower and older. The right kind of danger teaches you something about yourself. She typed back. I'll be there. Sent it before she could think too carefully about it. Put her phone face down. Looked at Biscuit, the water stain on the ceiling. Don't say anything, she told him. Biscuit said nothing. He was a very good listener. She turned off the studio lights and walked out into the Busan night. The salt smell of the port, the distant lights of cargo ships on the water, The city loud and awake the way port cities always were, never fully sleeping, always in the middle of arriving or departing. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. She did not know what Kang Jisoo wanted to show her, or what it meant that she wanted to see it, or where this road went, whether it bent towards something good or something complicated or something that was both, the way most real things were both. What she knew was this. She had slapped the most dangerous man in Busan in front of 500 people. She had picked up the microphone. She had finished the show. She had not apologized. And whatever came next, whatever chapter began on that port at 6 in the morning, she would meet it the same way she had met everything else. Standing up straight, eyes open on her own terms. She pulled her jacket tighter and walked home through the neon-lit streets, and somewhere across the city, in a high-rise office overlooking the harbor, Kang Jisoo stood at his window in the dark and looked out at the water and thought about 3 bars he hadn't written but could hear. Thought about a woman who watched hands instead of faces. Thought about the way a laugh could change the architecture of a room. He had collected a great many things in his life. Companies, properties, loyalty, fear. He was beginning to understand that some things couldn't be collected. Some things could only be earned. And the earning of them, the slow, uncertain, humbling work of it, was something he had never done before. He found to his great surprise that he wanted to try. And that, right there, is where we leave them. Both of them standing in the dark, on the edge of something neither of them has a name for yet. If this story had you locked in from that very first slap to this final scene, please like this video right now, it helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe if you haven't already because episode 2 is coming and you do not want to miss what happens at that port at 6 in the morning. And drop a comment, I want to know. Does Yuna go? Does she trust him? And what do you think he wants to show her? Because I have ideas. And they are not simple. Episode 2 coming soon.